super excited to be here. It looks like a really cool crowd. Chatted with a few of you already, and it looks like there's some really interesting things here. So we're going to try and keep that energy going and talk about some topics that I think are really relevant. So just a little bit about us. So I think we got a great little introduction. So we founded a company called Echo. We've been doing it for a few years now, and we have a UX and design background. And at Echo, our opinion is that considering the emotional aspect of people's spirits and how they're feeling is really important for designing products, especially when products are leveraging AI or ML technology. So we were fortunate enough to have some experiences. We'll talk a little bit about some of those today and some of the design techniques and learnings we had in designing these systems and some things that we kind of found to be effective.
So we're going to kind of do a combination, really focus on MightyTV and what we experienced when we were designing and doing research for MightyTV. And then we kind of have taken these ideas and shared them with a number of people from these companies, Amazon, Google. Michelle Carney's at Amazon. She runs the UX ML group in Berkeley. Google, Ryan Garamick, who does Google Assistant, we've had conversations with him, and Carol Smith from Uber, and IBM Watson, Andrew Nain from AI Ventures, and a bunch of people have kind of helped us to formulate these ideas and validate them. So that's kind of where we're at now. And let's talk about. So another aspect, as we've gone from MightyTV experience, we've extended and taken what we learned from there and considered how can designers get involved in the various stages of machine learning development. So gathering data, what can designers do, and why should they be involved in that process? Preparing the data, so doing data visualizations to help. And a lot of it's about getting a larger group of people with more perspectives involved in the whole process. Training the model, we did a lot of that in our research as we were getting ground truth, running it through with test subjects to train the model and consider all the types of people, emotional states, and expertise needed to really train the model appropriately. And then, of course, creating the interface. So we're really going to focus on the training the model and creating the interface.
Yeah, and just a little bit to give some context on what the MightyTV app was. So that was a recommendation engine for streaming video. So basically, it would take Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, all of those video catalogs, and then it kind of would allow people to choose preferences around those titles. So the data model basically had to start from zero. There was no large data set or anything because it's customized to each individual user. So in our case, we had to find several affordances to allow people to kind of give their preferences and then be able to give that back to them and give recommendations back to them from the machine learning engine that made some kind of sense. So talk a little bit about how that worked.
Yeah, and this kind of starts to tie into the emotional aspect. So originally, we did a lot of usability testing, so sort of traditional usability testing where you're seeing if people understand the messaging, if they're able to get through the experience, if they know where they are. So it's a very sort of cognitive level of information that you're gathering. And we had a like and a dislike. So that's what you was sort of a Tinder interface. You'd swipe through the movie titles, the TV titles. It would align it with the metadata around each title and bring back more appropriate recommendations based on your preference. So then we went in and started doing the research. And in the research, just by the nature of what people were seeing, they had these really strong emotional reactions. So they'd swipe 20, 30 titles, and then they'd find something that they just loved. It's like their favorite movie ever, or it was the most hilarious movie they'd ever seen, or they never wanted to see again, they hate horror movies. So they're having these really extreme emotional reactions. But we didn't have the signal, didn't have the convention to inform the machine learning for that. So from a traditional sort of development perspective, you might look at that and say, okay, it's doing well. It's people are liking it, or they're not liking things that they don't like. That's fine. But from a design perspective, understanding machine learning, those emotions can be transformed into a signal. You can create a design, and that can then inform the machine learning to create more personalized results. So then it's a question of how do you do that? How do you look at like and dislike? How do you take sort of catalog the different emotions, review that with the product team and the developers, the machine learning engineers, and say, okay, we have this spectrum of emotions. Which ones do we want to focus on to create the most meaningful experience and the best results? So we went through a whole process of talking to people on our team about that. We ended up focusing on love. And Jesse designed a convention that really integrated the understanding that most of the time people are going to like or dislike something, and every once in a while they're going to love something. So how can you design? So you take, rather than have it up in the center, we made a slow swipe like. Talk about it, but
Yeah, so, well, one of the core tenets that we wanted in the product design was to keep the interface super simple. We wanted people to go through a lot of titles quickly and without having a lot of clutter. So we were always fighting to have as few interactions as possible. And so basically having a simple swipe left, swipe right, you could swipe up to skip. We didn't want to add like all these different shades of hate, kind of don't like. We just really wanted to keep it binary. But the love we found was really important. So rather than just doing normal swipe left or right, if you swiped right and held it, like a little meter would start to fill up, and you would see that meter fill as you were swiping it. And when it filled all the way, then it would change from a like into a love, which we found people not only responded emotionally to it because they're like, yes, I love it. It was actually a really fun interaction as well. So it had a little bit of like an addictiveness to it as well. So that was kind of how we discovered the love interaction. Another thing we found as we were doing this was we were presenting people basically with just movie and TV shows, and they didn't have a lot of context as to why. We had a really sophisticated machine learning model under there, but to the user, they had no idea. It could just be a random list. It could be completely unpersonalized. And one of the challenges we had as we were testing this was people are like, why are you showing me this? Why are you showing me that? I don't understand. And we kind of found, we had this mascot, and we weren't using him for this purpose. We were using this as part of like our help section. Just, a cute little guy. It wasn't meant to really enhance the usability of the app. But as people were going through it, when they would see this guy in the help section, they had a really strong reaction to him. They're like, oh, he's cute. I trust him. What is he? Is he an ice cream? Is he a yogurt? Is he a cupcake? There's a lot of debate. There's even a debate over his gender. We ended up calling him a guy, but we think he's kind of, he's androgynous. Could be anything. So people were really responding to this. And as we started showing people these movies, there was a lot of question as to why. So we decided that maybe we need more context. So even though the machine learning system was kind of learning and recommending these titles, there wasn't enough context being presented. So what we actually decided to add was this cupcake, and it's a little hard to see here. We'll zoom in on him later. But we have that at the top of the screen, and then it's just kind of like a little avatar that guides you. So it was an introductory experience. The first few times, it'd be like, hey, swipe on things you like, swipe on things you don't, kind of helping them along the way. And here you can see a little better shot of it. As you move through the experience, then he would start to give you context about a particular title. So if you didn't know something, a lot of them were like factoids and trivia. And so this one was, about the Mars movie where it was shot. And these things seemed kind of completely random to us. We were like, well, these don't have any, direct tie into the machine learning system. But what we found was, even though it wasn't being powered by that, just by providing additional context about what the system was doing, people had a lot more comfort with it overall. So something that we didn't really plan for, but we kind of stumbled into, and we thought it was really important
to, when people were having those strong reactions, a few people mentioned how it made them feel safe. And that was kind of an unexpected emotion. But again, because we were paying attention to emotions, not just do people understand things, that we sort of cataloged that. And then we were hearing there was this lack of confidence. So again, it's sort of emotional, reaction when they weren't knowing why they were seeing something. So kind of paying attention to those emotions and saying, hey, we have this over here. People trust it. They don't really trust or have confidence in this. What if we bring these two things together? Again, just sort of that paying attention to the emotions and the research as well as the emotional design. And so the happiness score, this was to get an understanding of how well machine learning is performing. And so we had a group of 12 users come in and swipe 200 titles. And so as they were doing that, our machine learning engineer was tracking that information based on if they liked, disliked, loved, added to a watch list, all of those types of things. And then we were doing sort of usability tests. It was more of a user interview test where we let them sort of just go with it and ask them to just tell us if they felt that they were being understood and what they were feeling as they were going through the experience. So so we were doing a lot of listening. They were swiping through. We didn't really prompt them, but just sort of listened to when they would have a reaction. And then we were also looking at facial expressions or hesitations. And so we were able to open up and sort of unpack the emotions and then tie them to specific numbers of swipes. And so we found that around swipe 60, people started to indicate that they felt like they were being understood. That was either by saying, "Oh, I really love this thing," or laughing at something, and then being like, "Well, what made you laugh?" And this one woman said, "Oh, I saw a couple movies about Boston, and I'm from Boston." So we unpacked it, found out that she felt like she was being understood by that. And we were able to then share that with the machine learning engineer who was looking at the data, but they could also align it with the reactions that the people were having around being understood.
I think one of the really cool things about these two charts was we assumed that there would be a one-to-one correlation between how well people felt the machine learning system understood them and how happy they were actually using it. And we found that was not true, counterintuitively. So you kind of see the top chart, as they're starting to use it, it doesn't understand it at all, then it plateaus a little bit, it goes up, and then it just goes up and up, it understands them more. But the bottom part is actually how good they felt using the product. So even though, and these are all self-reported, so we ask people to kind of draw these plots about how they felt about the experience. You can see, even though at the beginning it doesn't understand them at all, that doesn't mean that they can't enjoy the experience. So I think it's important to kind of consider what you really want to get out of a machine learning system and how people feel about it. It's not always what you assume. It's not just the obvious. The better it is, the smarter it is, the more they'll enjoy it. That's not necessarily true.
And then you can leverage that enjoyability and sort of happiness of their experience to allow them to input more and more information. And so this sort of just speaks to what we do with machine learning.
Yeah, he did this plot. Don't ask us to explain it. And then, so what we found is after we kind of optimized the system, so we ran our metrics and checked usage, we had certain goals. We found that there were actual quantitative improvements with how many swipes people did, how long they used the app, how many things they found to use the watch list. So that was, of course, very important to the company as well. We didn't want to just say, oh, people feel good about it. We did want to prove that these understandings were actually improving usage metrics of the app. So we were happy to see that. And then as far as qualitative improvements, we touched on this a little bit. The love interaction was probably the most popular thing we introduced. It really kind of added a little bit of surprise. It was a simple thing, but went a long way. And the cupcake definitely became very popular. So again, just kind of keeping our ears open, things that we did not plan for, did not expect along the way. As we heard from users, we tried to pivot and incorporate the things that they were responding to. So some really cool things happened with the MightyTV app. When they launched, they had a lot of great PR. It was written up in several articles in Wired and some of the other popular publications. And then it actually got in the App Store, got featured in the App Store. So we were super jazzed to see that, to see our little app actually shown in the Apps We Love section. We entered the Fast Company Innovation by Design Awards. We did not win the finalist, but we were a semi-finalist. That was really cool. And then last year, almost a year ago, Spotify acquired MightyTV. So we felt like that was really a cool success, and we were excited to be part of it.